All right, so today we're going to run through VCARVE Pro and how to bring an Inventor model into VCARVE. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top here after opening up a new file. It says Create New File, and I want to create a new file. First thing is I have to set up the stock. How big is the material going to be that I'm going to cut it out of or cut my part out of? And so what I'm going to do, so we need to set up the stock and figure out how big of a piece of material do we need to cut. So I'm going to run back into Inventor. I just laid out the back plate. This is the back plate of my assembly here. And the back plate of my assembly is going to be 15 by 6.58. So I just need to have a piece of stock that is slightly larger than that. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my width here. So we'll set this up to be 18. And then the height on this we'll just set up to be 8. Then I'm going to come down here to thickness. And I know that this is going to get cut out of a piece of stock that's going to be 0.25 in thickness. So we're looking at a 1/4 inch of thickness here. So with a 1/4 inch of thickness, I run back into VCARVE and I set that up to be 0.25. My 0 is going to be at the top of my stock. My datum position or my XYZ position is going to be at the bottom left-hand corner. Sort of a standardized way that we set this up. And then we're going to run in inches, in units, and just run down through and hit OK. So now I have my stock set up. This is going to be the material I'm going to cut out of. I'm going to run up here to where it says File. I'm going to come down to Import, and I want to import component 3D model. So I see the back plate. I'm going to grab the back plate from my 3D models. I'm going to hit Open. This brings in my back plate, and so my back plate right now is set up. Looking at the initial orientation, running down through here, all looks good. I want the 0 plane at the top of my part, so I just slide this up to the top. And it says discard data below. I don't want to discard anything, so I'm going to uncheck that, and then I hit OK. Now, with this set up, there's 2 tabs at the top of the screen. One is 3D View, and one is New. I'm going to go back to New because I want to actually see this part. Now, this is where I run into an issue with this program in relation to running Mastercam, in that you can see all of these small little steps running around here. These little steps that are set up here, this does not make a smooth curve. So all these steps are going to make a very rough curve. So what I'm going to end up needing to do is, first, in order to get vectored lines from a raster image, I'm going to select the back plate, and then I'm going to come up to this button right here. This is Create Vector Boundary from Selected Components, and I create a vectored boundary. Now, that's a line boundary, and when I look at this, you can see there's some little bumps here in the particular vector. In fact, I'll click on it so you can see it a little bit better. There's bumps in here. This is not what I'd like to see in a nice, smooth, curved arc. So straight lines generally come out just fine, but when we get into curves, that's when we start to have little bumps and wiggles. So the tool that I've found seems to work pretty well to take care of this is I go into Editing, and I select this button, Curve Fit Vectors. Okay, so we're messing around with fit curves to vectors. What I found is that this Bezier curve seems to give me a nicer, cleaner curve than working with circular arcs. So what I'm going to do is I just go ahead and I select that vectored line and select Bezier curve, and then go ahead and hit Preview. And then the new purple line is the curve that has been created, sort of smoothing out the highs and lows on the original vector. So that I can just go ahead and select the original vector and delete it, and now I have a smoothed out curve. Still haven't run this enough to get great concepts of how this is going to work. I have a test set up and I haven't run through that test yet, but right now that's what I'm going to run with. So going ahead now, I'm ready to start tooling this. Tool paths are located on the right hand side, and tooling this part's going to be fairly simple. We go ahead and grab the 2D profile, and again start working from our way from the top down. The cutting depth, start at the top, go down to 0.25 is great. I'm going to use an 1/8 inch end mill. I'm going to come in here and just take a look. It's set up for an 1/8 inch end mill, 0.125. It is an end mill. Diameter is correct. Pass depth. You only cut in pass depth half the diameter of the bit. So that's half of that, 0.0625. Setup step, that's all fine. Spindle speed, 13,000 RPM, and our feed rate is going to be 200. This was already calculated for the chip load of 0.008 coming from a double fluted solid carbide bit cutting Corian. So with that all set up, we're going to go ahead and hit OK, and then I'm going to keep sliding down through here. Outside right, inside left, we can take a look at that. I think I want to run inside left for this particular run through. and I'm going to come down, and I just first need to select what I want to cut. First I want to cut the inside arc, then I'll make another path for the outside arc. So we'll go ahead and calculate the inside arc here, and this is what it's going to look like in 3D. We'll go back to new so I can take a look at the path. The line with the arrows is the path itself, and I can see that it's now going to run up and around. It's on the correct side of the line. That's fantastic. So I'm going to go back to my toolpaths and go ahead and hit profile again, because now I'm ready to cut the outside of the object out. So I select the outside of the object. Here I want to be on the outside running right, so it's going to run around the outside of the object. And coming down, I actually want to have some tabs so this thing doesn't go flying off. So I'm going to select add tabs, hit edit tabs, and then I just want to select where I want to put these tabs so this part does not fly out of my stock. And I'll put 4 tabs on it. Go ahead and close that out. Right now the length of my tab is 0.18, height being an 1/8 inch, 0.125. It's fine, and we'll hit calculate. So I can see that I have tabs here created in my 3D part for the outside. I do not have tabs on the inside. That's fine. And then we're going to hit back to this particular line. There's my tab symbol down here. So I'm now ready to save this out and to go over to the machine and make a cut. So with that being set up, I'm just going to close out. I'm going to hit save toolpath. And these are the toolpaths here that I can go ahead and save out. Save toolpaths. And save this out, call this backplate 2, because this is just a class sample, and then I'd save it out to my file. Now I'm ready to go over to ShopBot and make a cut. Alright, so I've gone ahead and opened up ShopBot. I want to go through and run a quick preview. I'm going to go ahead and hit load part file. Highly recommend and will require that you run a preview before we run any parts on the CNC machine. So we're going to go back to the server. We're going to go ahead and pull up the parts and pieces that I've just gone ahead and tooled out. So I'm looking for, where did I save these parts and pieces so I can pull this up. There's backplate, hit that open. And this is just going to run a preview in the space here. So this should look like my part. Should be able to go ahead and rotate this as well so I can see how deep it's going to cut. So we're going into my part. I've got 4 tabs set up there, and I believe this was the first one, not the second one I just ran through, but I can see I've got tabs set up. Yep, things look good. So this is the cut that I'm going to want to run, and I always want to preview this so I know that ShopBot is going to do what I've asked it to do before I actually go over and run the machine. All right.